ini, ia akan bertambah buruk.
Malaysia, a fast-growing country in the Asian region, has witnessed an astounding transformation since Malaya's independence in 1957. From then to our current timeline, the country has undergone massive transformation, exploring in various sectors of economy. This leads to a rise in the standards of living amongst its citizens. An individual's or a socio-economic class standard of living is the level of wealth, comfort, material goods and necessities available to them in a certain geographical area. Malaysians are divided into three socio-economic groups. The B40 with an average income of 2,000 ringgit, the middle class M40 with 6,000 ringgit, and the T20 with an average income of 16,000 ringgit from the data in 2016 by Hazana Research Institute. In this video, we will dive into this topic in understanding the standards of living in Malaysia, with problems arise with it, and how the governments are taking control of the situation. According to the data, the gap between the T20 and the M40 rose from 6,000 to 10,000, while the T20 and the B40 gap rose from 8,000 to 14,000 from 1995 to 2016 before adjusting for inflation. This indicated that the gap between the highest 20% income group and the lower 40% has almost doubled in a matter of 2 decades. These problems, together with the rising price of commodities, has led the B40 group to a more stressful financial burden. Let's take a quick look at how the B40 group should be in concern of this trend. In 2016, households with monthly incomes under 2,000 ringgit spends 94.8% of their incomes on consumption, leaving them very vulnerable to sudden shocks, while those earning over 15,000 ringgit monthly consume only 45%. But the question is, what really is the core to this rise in income gap between the socio-economic class that worries the economies in Malaysia today? First, let's get a brief explanation on what income inequality is. Income inequality is actually the income differences of the people living in Malaysia. It is essentially the question of how much does one person make compared to the other. Income inequality is actually not a bad thing because it can actually stimulate the economic growth for the country. Let's say that everyone in Malaysia is paid at the same wage, at the same rate, then no one would be incentivized enough to actually increase their productivity. So why does people keep saying that the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer? Perhaps it's best if we stop pointing finger to anyone and try to solve this problem by not involving the scandalous politics of Malaysia. In general, there are several reasons for income inequality. They are usually the wages determine labor market, how the education affects the wages, and technology, gender, and personal factors.
As we acknowledge the issue in the world of economy right now, the government should take a huge role in handling income inequality that has been affecting the standard of the living of the Malaysian citizens. Back in 2019, our ex-Prime of Minister of Malaysia, Mahathir Mohamad, stated that Malaysia's economy's policy will focus more on reducing income inequality. Thus, this includes measures such as raising revenues for the poorer states, such as like Kedah, Kelantan, Perlis, and other rural areas, and also to provide skills training for the low earners, named as the Shared Prosperity Vision 2030. This plan is invented as a best need-based approach to achieve the equitable and sustainable economic growth in 2030.
Kerajaan menyedari perbezaan jurang pendapatan yang ketara di antara golongan yang kaya dengan yang miskin.
Unfortunately, since the plan was just implemented last year, we cannot see much the impact of this plan towards the country's economy as a whole and how it is actually affecting the B40 group.
Yang berlainan.
There are actually a lot of initiatives that we can do in order for us to reduce the income inequality in Malaysia. Firsthand, the government can actually intervene through the tax and benefit system, which can actually push the equity and reduce the income inequality in Malaysia. This is done through employing progressive tax and profit system, which actually takes proportionally more money from those in higher income, and then redistributes in welfare benefits to those in lower income.
Besides that, the government should also need to increase the level of education in Malaysia. With higher level of education and high expertise, the inequality of wages can be reduced. Since not everyone can pursue the higher education in Malaysia, the government should take action on making the education as accessible as possible without neglecting the without neglecting the quality standards of education itself.
Looking back through the whole analysis we have made, it is true that income inequality has been a burden for the low earners, and this issue needs to be taken care of. The government must be more attentive towards this problem and take actions before the standard of living of Malaysian citizens will be affected. If all authorities take part in handling the problem, the income inequality can be avoided. Thus, the standard of living in Malaysia will be in desirable level in the future.